podcasting from Northwest Pennsylvania. You're listening to the Gen Extra Podcast, a show about Generation X, movies, technology, weird news, and anything else they feel like. Join them every Monday morning. Now, here's your hosts, Dave and Joe.
All right, welcome back to another episode. Only this one, there is no Joe. I have somebody else here. Say hello.
Hello.
Amanda's back. Thank you for coming in.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, Joe was supposed to be here, but he had some things going on at home, and he cannot make it. Sadly, he will, like I said, not be joining us for this episode. But I have a temporary co-host.
Yeah.
Thanks for...
We are Joeless, but we won't be joyless.
That's right. I liked it. Did you think that on the way out here?
I thought of it right now.
Okay. You're like, what can I say? That's perfect. So a couple things, though, with Amanda being on the show, I want to talk about is her new book that officially has come out called The Wordsmiths, and we will get into that here momentarily. The other thing I want to talk about is your trip to Birmingham.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure that was rather exciting. You were over there for like a little while there, right?
Yeah, about 9 days.
9 days?
Yeah.
Man, that's out of my, like, I have like I don't know what you call it. I have like so many days that I'm comfortable with being away from home. We go on vacation, 4 or 5 days, perfect. 7 days is getting a little long for me. So how was it like being gone that long?
It was actually great. I normally am like that. I normally hit a point in a vacation where I'm ready to go home, but I didn't feel that way there. I was very comfortable there. I liked it there quite a bit. It was actually hard to leave.
Yeah, I do want to hear all about that.
Yeah.
It's a reason or why you went. I know why, but maybe not everybody listening knows why you went.
They might not.
And I want to hear about some like cultural differences from here to there.
Yeah.
And then to end the show, I wanted to do a fun game with you as far as English, American English versus British English. And there's so many different things that they say and we say that mean the same thing. Mm-hmm. And I want to see if you know what they are. See how much of their lingo you picked up over there.
Pop quiz.
Yeah, and I thought for fun, maybe just for a couple, not for everyone, I'm going to see if you can use it in a sentence in a British accent.
Oh, no, I can't do an accent. I'll tell you right now.
Like, no.
Shut it down.
That could be the funnest part, though. Yeah, when Joe and I were talking about doing that, we were laughing, too, because I'm like, anytime I try and do a British accent, it comes out like a mixture of, Australian and it never sounds legit.
No, mine's Southern. I always go Southern. That's the only one I can do.
Yeah, that's an easy one for us,
yeah,
though.
It is.
It's close to home.
It is. Yeah, we're like it's like the Appalachian cousin.
Yeah, it is. But before we get started into the book, I do have one question. I guess not a question, but more of I'm interested to hear what happened. I know a lot of people listening to the show follow you on Facebook or other social media. You got attacked by a dog.
I did. You
want to talk about this?
I sure will.
Okay. All right. I didn't know if it was going to be, too touchy, PTSD, reliving this moment, but kind of walk us through it, because it sounded like it was like everyone's worst nightmare on a stroll down a bike trail.
Yep. And otherwise,
so many people do.
Pristine day. Yeah.
Yeah. So what happened?
So a friend of mine and I were walking my dog. I have a husky. On a bike trail we walk all the time near the Oil City Marina, and a dog came from one of the houses that has a backyard up to the bike trail.
Oh, okay.
Just came at us, and the owner followed the dog down, but really was no help. She followed the dog around and kept saying, I don't know what to do. And we were like, pick your dog up, because the dog was immediately aggressive, and I think kept coming at me because I had my dog. And my dog is not a guard dog whatsoever. She hid behind me, actually. My 60-pound dog was no help.
That sounds like what my dog would probably do.
Right behind my legs. But this dog was injured, and you could tell that the injury had healed improperly. So I can't blame the dog for this attack. I think that dog was a very mistreated dog that didn't know how to act and just had gotten loose and came at us. And for probably 20 minutes, it felt like 3 hours.
I'll bet.
The dog lunged several times at me, bit me on my elbow, and punctured it.
Jesus.
Bit me on my hip and punctured. And then I also had scrape wounds across my thighs where I must have turned and it tried to bite. The scariest one was that it tried to bite my face, and I pulled back when it lunged, and its teeth crashed into my teeth, and it broke my bottom tooth.
That's horrifying.
The dentist fixed it. You can't even tell. It's amazing what the dentist did. But yeah, that was the scary one. That was the one that when I would have nightmares.
Yeah, I was going to say, this had to like, just haunt you for weeks,
Yes.
probably.
Yep. And I still, when I see a dog I don't expect to see, or there's an
you're probably
aggressive
very
bark,
nervous.
I have a reaction to that. And
I bet.
love dogs, so that's a big difference and change for me. But I didn't realize how badly I was injured. The dog would lunge and bite and then herd us. It was some kind of Australian Shepherd mix, and it wouldn't let us walk away. Eventually, a man who was walking along the trail came and got this branch, practically this enormous stick out of the woods, and came and like kept the dog away. And then another man came out of one of the houses with a baseball bat and helped keep the dog back. And other people called the police, and police and EMTs came. And it was only then that I could calm down enough to really look at, there was just blood pouring down my arm, dripping
God.
all over the. So I did go to the emergency room and had the series of rabies shots.
Those aren't fun.
Nope. They put the shot right in the wound.
Ooh, I didn't know that.
Yep. It's no longer in your stomach. It's as close to the wound as they can get it. So I had to have 2 shots in my elbow, which is not known to be a very fleshy area.
No, that's got to be terrible.
Very unpleasant.
Oh my God. Yeah. So no, that's a horrible story. Like I said, that's like nightmare fuel for people that, come across any dog anywhere. For the most part, I mean, 99 out of 100 times, dog's fine. It's friendly.
Yep.
Even if it shows to be a little bit aggressive, they don't generally attack.
Right.
That's crazy that this thing just went right after you guys and was actually biting you. My God.
And I think it's because
It's
of
like
the way it was
I'm like
treated.
squeamish about it. Like,
Yep. Because like I said, I walk that trail all the time. I've always taken whatever dogs I've had down that area. And we have had dogs that were a little, like, I feel like they could have gone aggressive had we been aggressive. But this one, I tried everything I knew about managing dogs, and this dog wouldn't calm down. It was aggressive right from the start and stayed that way until the guy with the stick came to our rescue.
yeah, I was going to say that whoever that, did you ever, like, you don't have to say his name, but did you find out who it was?
Yes, only because we had gone, my friend who also, she tried to get in between to let me take my dog away, and the dog bit her too.
Oh my God.
So we went to a hearing for the woman, the dog owner, and the man with the stick was one of the witnesses, and then one of the neighbors was there too. So we had a chance to talk to them and had a chance to thank them, which I
was going to say, I'm
was glad
sure
to be
you're
able
very
to do
grateful.
that. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that's a heroic moment. I mean, coming to someone's aid like that.
absolutely.
Because if he wasn't there, I mean, it could have just kept going on.
Yep. And in direct opposition to that guy, there was a man on a bike who rode right past us.
Are you serious?
Right past us, as 3 feet away from me, made eye contact with me while he rode his bike right by me.
He's just like, nope.
Nope, just kept on going. So
Just couldn't be bothered, huh?
nope. He apparently was, timing himself for a race or something. I don't know.
Wow, who does that?
Yeah, that guy. That's who.
Okay, this guy, I mean, I don't know if he listens to our show or not, but he's got to be out there somewhere. And do you think he, like, for a moment, he thought maybe I should go back, or he was just like, no.
I'd like to, just in terms of believing in humanity, I'd like to think he had that thought.
Right? God, I don't know. Like, how could he just pack his bike up when he's done? Like he didn't see anything.
Yeah, just like, woo, good ride today.
Yeah, hope everything was going good with that girl, those girls and that dog up there.
Yeah. There's an awful lot of blood down there. Don't know what that was about.
I'd have jumped off that bike so fast. Oh my God. So, do you do anything differently now? Like, do you still take the dog to the bike trail?
I do. I carry pepper spray now.
I was going to say, I would hope you have something to defend yourself.
Yep.
That's a great option too. I mean,
Yep.
hindsight, obviously, if you had that with you.
Yeah. Well, so what ended up happening, I had my dog's leash in one hand and she had gone behind me and I had her harness in the other hand. So I didn't actually have my hands free.
Oh.
But had I had my pepper spray on me, my friend could have taken it out of my pocket and used it.
Well, yeah.
Because I was with someone. But yeah, I didn't have my cell phone with me either. I never used to carry that. So now I carry my phone and it's gel pepper spray. It's pepper gel. So there's no blowback. But
Oh, nice.
yeah.
Just goops them right in the eyes.
That's
huh?
right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good idea. I mean, I should probably, never know. We know everybody on this. We walk our dogs up and down this road here. And we know the dogs, but you never know when there's going to be one that you don't know.
Yeah. It could be a stray. It could be a bear. I mean, where we live, the wildlife is just as much of an issue as the people. So
I have such bear phobia. And what's crazy too about bears, not them specifically, but the sounds you hear in the woods. Chipmunks will often sound like it's 300 pounds. And it freaks me out. I turn around, I'm like, oh my God, what is that? And I see this little chipmunk or squirrel bouncing around. Bears are rather quiet. And that's the problem. You won't hear them coming until they're moving, fast.
Yep.
So no, I just have a horrible fear of crossing paths with a bear. If I take a walk to the woods, I literally will, my wife will make fun of me. I'll grab a couple flat rocks and I'll just be smacking them together. Like, hey bear.
We do that too. Make a lot of noise. Bear.
Yes,
bear.
I don't want to be walking all delicately. I want them to hear me coming so they leave.
Yep, same. You need to get some bear spray.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you, you survived the situation.
Well, thank you. Me too.
You didn't come out, uninjured, but at least it wasn't, life-threatening or anything like that.
It could have been a lot worse. Had I not pulled back when it lunged at my face, that would have been a very different experience.
It would have.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you're sitting here with me.
Me too. And thank you.
Yeah. So, all right, well, let's move on to something a little lighter.
Okay.
But I said I never really heard the full story, and I kind of wanted to hear it. And I'm glad you told me. Yeah. I did clear it in advance, everybody, just so you know.
He didn't just spring that on me. No worries.
Yeah. I'm like, well, I got a doozy for you.
Well,
ready?
here's some trauma. You ready?
Okay, so let's jump into the book. Again, the book is called The Wordsmiths. You can find it online. You can buy it you can get it from Amazon, right?
Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and you can buy it directly from the Hollow Oak Press website, which is hollowoakpress.com.
Do you have a preference?
Buying it from Hollow Oak Press is buying it directly from me.
Okay.
So I think because you know Amazon,
I
think that the cost is about the same, but when you buy it from me, I'll give you a free bookmark.
There you go. Yeah, which mine's on my kitchen table. I forgot to bring it out here. Yeah, it was a little cute little Hollow Oak Press. I like the little leaves on it.
Thank you.
But yeah, so let's jump into the book. I started reading it, and I gotta be honest, I'm a slow reader. All right, it takes me a while. I'm a better audiobook customer. We've talked about this a little bit. Hopefully that comes to fruition sometime in the future. But anyway, tell me a little bit about the book. We started talking about it before we recorded, and the way it's laid out is actually different than what I thought it might have been. So kind of give me the rundown of how this book plays out, because it's even more interesting to me now that I know how it goes. I'm excited to read the whole thing.
All right. So this is a high concept anthology. So the novel, the main story was written by me and Scott Richards. And then there are 8 characters in the book that also tell stories. The stories the characters tell were written by other authors.
Yes. Yeah. And that's where I didn't know, because I started reading, and where I got in the book was where they started discussing bringing these stories back.
Yes.
I didn't realize that the stories that they write in the book are actually in the book.
Yes.
So all their short stories they bring back, you can read them, and are they all together, or are they kind of clumped into the story as they are brought back?
They're in the narrative of the book. So as the days go on for the characters, when they tell the story in story time, in the real time of the novel, that's when the story is in the narrative.
That's so exciting. A story within a story.
A story within a story.
Yes. That's such a creative way to do it.
Thank you.
Yeah, well done.
I have never seen this done before. I've seen anthologies done in various ways. And I had read one a while back where the author wrote everything within the context like this, where there were people who were brought together to tell stories, but he wrote all the stories. This gets to showcase other authors, and you get to have a feel of a different style within all these other stories.
Yeah.
So that said, what I haven't really been talking much about is that there are two different ways to read this book. You can read it cover to cover. If you're somebody who has an attention span like mine,
Or mine, yeah.
and it's hard sometimes to go from style to style and stay engaged, you can read any of the short stories out of order by themselves. They stand alone.
Okay.
And then you can also read the main novel by itself without the short stories cut into it, because the short stories don't change or affect the plot of the novel.
Okay.
So, it's set up that you would read it cover to cover, but if that's taxing on your attention span, you can read it the other way.
I almost wonder if the best order would be to like read the short stories, so you have read them all, and then so you don't get unengaged from the novel, to then go back and just read the novel part the whole way through, skipping past. So you already know what the story was, but you don't get distracted by reading the short story, then going back to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think I might do it that way.
Okay. Report back. Let me know how that goes.
Like, it was amazing. So I not right now, but here shortly, I am going to have you read like a few paragraphs, just to kind of give people an idea what this book sounds like.
Okay.
And obviously I'll have you set it up to what you're about to read, what happened prior to this, to why you're about to read this part. But anyway, before we do that though, I do want to talk about kind of the process of, putting out a novel. Like, how hard was that? Like,
very hard.
I was going to say, like, I couldn't even imagine, like, of course I'm not in that space. Like, I'm not in that world to where I wouldn't even know where to begin, let alone writing one, versus getting one published and then it's on different platforms such as Amazon, to purchase, and the print, like, it's a physical book. It's sitting right here on the desk.
Yep.
So give me a little bit about how that whole thing went down, because it had to be, I don't even want to say fun, but it had to be
parts of it were
anxiety.
very fun.
I'm sure some of it was. I'm sure a lot of it was like anxiety inducing.
Yes, some of it was. So, where to start with this? So I had been writing for a while and had the background of what some of this looked like already, which helped, because I can't imagine picking this up not knowing anything and just saying, you know what, I'm going to write a book. It was a lot to learn. So I started this process with an idea, and then the Oil City Arts Council had a creative ventures grant that they put out. So that is important because it put us on a very strict timeline.
Okay.
Because we had a grant to account for. So when we started taking submissions for the short fiction within the book, that was back in February of this year.
This is what we talked about.
This is what we talked about before.
Yeah,
so the submission process, that's how we narrowed down to the stories that are in this book.
All making sense now.
Yeah, it all fits together.
Yeah, all right.
So then Scott and I wrote the story around the short stories, and we didn't start... We had a concept, but we didn't start writing it until we knew what the short stories were that were chosen. That way we could be true to the character telling the story.
Right. Like if it was some bubbly girl that was like, it wouldn't make sense if she was writing some like horribly depressing,
Exactly.
Like, yeah. So no,
exactly.
I get that.
Yeah. So there's some context in terms of the character. And then we wrote a novel in a very short amount of time. Because we had to wait for the submission call to be over and the stories to be chosen, and then we had to have it done and in time to be edited, and then the interior design of the book to be done, to get it out for printing, to get it back in time for when the book launched. It was a very short amount of time. And that part was very anxiety provoking.
How many late nights did you have and early mornings?
So many.
Yeah.
And so Scott lives in Birmingham, in England. So he's 5 hours ahead of me.
Yeah,
so
I was going to say, what's the time difference there?
He would be able to work on the story while I was still sleeping.
Right.
So then I would get up and, on a weekend, then I would pick up where he had
That's kind of what I got done so far.
Yeah.
And he wakes up and finds stuff that
I had done.
Okay.
Yeah. So kind of leapfrogging in that way.
kind of maybe worked out actually, because you guys can almost essentially like work around the clock almost.
Yeah, almost.
Yeah.
Almost. And then, so we fell into a groove. We had not co-written before. He is the editor-in-chief of Humor Me magazine, which I've talked about before. That's how we met. But we hadn't co-written before. So we fell into a groove of, we would talk about kind of generally where we thought the story was headed. And then he would build the scaffolding of the story. And then I would come back and fill it in.
Okay.
So I was looking for regional detail. The story is set in an area very similar to northwestern Pennsylvania. It doesn't specifically state. It does say that it's in Pennsylvania, but it doesn't really. It's a made-up town. So I added all of those details.
It's like oil schmitty.
Yes. Exactly. There's a restaurant in here that I think you'll recognize.
Oh, really? Okay, all right. I'm excited.
So we turned the story around pretty quickly, and then Jess Ritchie is the one who edited both the short stories and then the whole book. She did the copy editing. She did that remarkably fast because we did not give her much time. And then the interior design was another piece that Austin Gray, who is the author of one of the short stories inside. Oh, and Jess also designed the cover. So that's the four of us are the team, the Hollywood team. Thank you. I do too. She did a great job with it.
Yeah.
So then Austin did the interior design for us. We hit all these things. None of us had done this before. So we hit all these things we didn't expect. Questions that came up like, well, what do you think about this? Or we need a design for the numbers at the bottom of the page. We hadn't thought about that. And
the chapter logos.
The chapter things. And all these things that we just weren't really, necessarily as prepared. Now we know. So for the next one, we'll know what to do with those things to have them done ahead of time. But
hey, I'm sure probably a heck of a learning experience.
Oh, it was. Yes, it was. But we did it. And then the printer took a little longer than I expected. There were a couple of issues that we had to resolve and then re-upload a file. So we got the physical copies of this book days before the launch event that we had in person. Gosh. It was so stressful.
I'll bet. Yeah. You're just like watching the tracking, make sure nothing goes wrong. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my God. So the whole time you're writing the book, or I'm sorry, leading up to writing the book, you were gathering those short stories.
Yes.
And weeding through hundreds of stories, I'm sure.
338.
That's a lot.
So many.
During that process, like I'm sure, was everybody involved in that?
Yes.
Trying to go through all those?
All four of us read. Yeah.
Now, did you do justice and read every word, or could you tell pretty quickly in the matter of maybe a page or two, or a few paragraphs, if a story was going to be worthy or not? I'm sure you can start to kind of figure it out pretty quick. You're like, I can see where this is going.
We are all writers who have gone through the process of submitting, and you always want to think that an editor is reading your whole story. So we all started this process out reading the whole story, even if we knew it wasn't going to be something we were going to use. We were trying to honor the author.
Sure, yeah.
And we did not keep that up. There were too many submitted to be able to do that. And some of them. So we had specific guidelines for the stories, like minimum, maximum word count. So stories that were submitted that were outside the guidelines, we wouldn't read because they didn't meet what we were looking for.
Okay, and you figured that out pretty quickly.
Yeah, that was pretty quick. And then some of them just had the wrong feel. There was a vibe we were looking for this, and so we did end up turning away some phenomenal stories.
Yeah,
they just didn't fit.
It may not be because it was poorly written; it just didn't fit. So that makes sense.
Yeah, but those are the ones you want to finish.
Yeah.
So there were ones that I read and loved, and like definitely needed to read the whole thing, but I knew I wouldn't.
You knew it wouldn't go in the book,
but I wanted to read it.
Well, that's a good sign.
Yeah, and in the rejection emails, I tried to be clear about that with those authors to say, I really liked this. Here's what I liked about it. Please submit to us again.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I had to send a rejection email to 332 of these people, because 2 of these stories were written by 2 of the Hollow Oak team members. So we only chose 6 out of the ones submitted by other people. So
that is crazy.
Yeah, a lot of rejection emails.
Did you at least start a template?
I did. Yes,
writing that from scratch would be tricky. Yeah, but no, I didn't even think about that part of the process, is like just having to go through all the submissions and rejections, and letting people know. You can't just leave them. You can't ghost them. And
nope, you had to let them know, and then saving the last ones, because I had 2 on deck. So there were the 6 we wanted, and then 2 kind of runners up in case one of the 6. In my acceptance email, I laid out the concept of the book because there could have been a chance one of the short story authors wouldn't have been okay with their story being told in a context like this.
Right.
Because if you look in the pages of the book, the short story authors' names aren't on the story itself.
Okay.
They're in the front and the back.
I saw them in the back. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had to be sure that they were okay with that before I could send them a contract. And they all were. So then I ended up having to reject the other 2 that I had set aside as, the runners up. But
That's amazing.
And I had to write the contracts. I had got a crash course in contractual.
Now, when they get their stories rejected, they still have the story that they wrote. What do they do with it then? They just hang on to it? Can
Submit
they
it to other places.
Other places?
Yeah, they can take. So I didn't get into the business of constructive criticism. I just feel like a rejection is already such a bummer.
Oh, yeah.
But sometimes I know for me, when I've submitted short fiction, I try to read between the lines of what they said they liked and what they didn't mention. And then sometimes I'll edit a story before I send it out again.
Oh, okay.
These other authors may not have done that. In publishing, a lot of places won't allow you to simultaneously submit stories. They'll only accept submissions if they're the only one considering it at that time.
Oh.
I hate that. So as a publisher, I chose not to do that and allowed simultaneous submissions. So a lot of the authors may have had it out at other places too. And I wish them the best of luck with getting it accepted at any of those other places.
It would cause a problem if it got picked up somewhere else and then you're like, I love it. And you're like, sorry.
Yep.
Somebody else took it.
That happened on 2 stories I did hear before we were able to respond from authors who said this got picked up somewhere. So.
Yeah. Would it be, I wonder if you could take it's so many. If there was enough good ones, you could even like put together a short story book of whatever they call it, like 15 different short stories just to read.
Yeah, it's a tricky thing because I don't know that we'll do another submission call that would be as close to what this submission call was.
Right.
That we would attract the same stories, but yeah, that would be a whole other project.
Yeah, makes sense. One more question, and then I'm going to have you read a part of this for us. When you first started taking all these submissions for the short stories that are in the book, was it always in the plan to write the novel around these stories?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't know if it was like, it kind of turned into that or if that was always the plan from day one.
That was always the plan.
Okay.
So my vision for Hollow Oak Press is that we will put out 1 high concept anthology per year.
Okay.
So this one was this style where it was the campfire tales concept, where it was characters telling stories within the narrative. The next one is a puzzle anthology. The submission call will be going out this weekend.
Oh, no
We're
kidding.
looking for plot twist mystery stories
Okay, all right.
with that magical speculative element. And then it will be a book of just short stories. There won't be a novel around it, but the whole book itself will be a puzzle to solve. So I'll write an introduction to the book that lays out a question that the reader then has to not only read the stories, but also look for clues to solve the puzzle that is the whole book itself.
You got to have some real attention.
Attention to detail.
Yeah.
Yep, it's a very different concept. That one won't be able to be an ebook. This one's not an ebook yet. We do have plans to do that, but the next one will have to be a physical book because a lot of the clues will be within the interior design of the book.
Yeah. Hopefully an audiobook someday, like I mentioned before.
Perhaps.
Yeah. I do love my audiobooks. So, all right, I'm going to hand you the book.
Okay.
And you can find your spot there.
Find my spot.
All right. So kind of set me up here with, the portion of the book you're about to read. And don't, it's not going to be a 10-minute read here. She's just going to read it.
It'll be quick.
What are we about to hear? What led up to what you're about to read?
This is near the very beginning of the book. All of the characters came back together. They were old high school friends who hadn't seen each other in 20 years. They came back for the funeral of a teacher and
Mr. Mack.
Mr. Mack.
Yeah.
And they're going to tell another round of stories like they used to in high school. So this section that I'm going to read sets up the tension of the book because it's not just a book of characters telling stories. There's a thriller element to the main story.
Nice. Okay.
Okay.
I'm excited.
All right. So the two characters you're going to be hearing are Kat, who is the main character, the point of view character, and then Cole, who is one of the other friends in the book.
Okay.
Okay. Anywhere else we could meet? What's wrong? We can't meet in there. Maybe the library or something? Maybe it'll work in a different room. Maybe it's been us the whole time. Kat wrinkled her nose. Cole, stop it. You know it won't work anywhere else. Only a few hours ago, he'd lamented how hard it was to be back here, and now this bit of immaturity? Kat rolled her eyes at the joke. I'm not kidding, Kat. Someone's been in there. Kat gave him a long look, the face of the boy she'd known underneath the weathered expression of the man standing with her now. His mouth, a pressed line slashed across his face, had no playful smirk at the edges. She drew back from the door. What do you mean? Cole pulled the door open with one hand, and the hinges groaned. The single hanging bar light glowed in a pale imitation of the bright sunshine that preceded the dusk outside. Kat blinked a couple of times in the hope what she saw would somehow blend into the sharp shadows cast by the storage shelves on either side of the wall. Between them, Welcome Back Wordsmiths had been scrawled in dripping spray paint above 9 photos. All 8 of them, as teenagers, smiled back at Kat from the dingy wall. In the center, a 9th teenager. Her face, framed by 2 thick French braids, shone with a carefree smile as though she'd been mid-laugh when the photo had been taken. The photo had been burned into Kat's memory. The last time she'd seen it had been between 2 huge arrangements of flowers at a devastating funeral. Cassie.
Dude, I cannot wait for the audiobook. I was just getting lost right there. I'm like, this is what I want. I want you to read me the book.
Well, clear your schedule.
Yes. Yes. It makes it sound so much better than my voice in my head. Oh, man. Thank you for doing that, though. I know
Sure. It's weird.
It's
weird to read my words
your own words,
out
yeah.
loud. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I get that. But no.
Our words.
Oh, yeah.
Just mine words.
Yeah. So, but again, congratulations for, making you wrote a book. Like, it's insane.
Thank you.
Yeah. Again, it's sitting in front of me and it's just so weird. How excited were you
Oh, so excited.
when this showed up and you opened them up and saw your physical book in your hands? Like, it was probably so exciting.
It was surreal.
Yeah.
And all that anxiety of, are these going to get here on time,
Yeah.
overshadowed how excited I was until I opened the carton.
Yes.
One of 3 cartons of all of these books, and got to hold that book in my hands and flip through it.
Oh,
You know,
it probably just made it so
cool.
Yeah.
So cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that's got to be really, really, really exciting. All the stress and everything just probably left your body for a moment.
It did.
Yeah.
Yep, it did.
When you finally got to hold it in your hands.
Yep.
That's crazy. But okay, so moving a little bit forward, past the actual book itself, you took a trip to Birmingham. Mm-hmm. And this was to meet up with your co-author.
Yes.
What was his name one more time?
Scott Richards.
Scott. Okay. I want to hear a little bit about this because I've never been. And I can only imagine how amazing it probably was. I know my wife really wants to go, just, I don't know, just get the experience, the culture difference. Mm-hmm. We've been to other countries, but, they're generally brief. Mm-hmm. We were like, it's touristy stuff. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think we've felt the real experience of places. And I'm sure you did touristy things.
A few. Yeah.
Yeah, but being there for 9 days, I'm sure you got to just kind of be there,
Yeah. And that's what I was after, just to be there.
Yeah.
I don't prefer touristy things in general. I like to experience what it's like to live in a new place. Even when I travel in the U.S., that's how I like to travel.
I feel like that's how certain horror movies start.
Probably is. It's the alleyways I didn't choose to go down.
Yeah.
That start those stories.
Like, yeah, we went to this, this big monument, and Amanda decided to go behind it. Never to be
saw
seen
her
again. So tell me a little bit about the experience. Like, we don't have to get into like the flight and stuff. We don't know how bad that can suck. But what was it like just being there? Why did you go? Like, I know you went there to go see Scott.
Yeah. So actually, I had planned this trip before I knew he was going to co-author this book with me, and we'd been friends. So it was, it felt a little less intimidating to travel overseas by myself, to go somewhere where I knew someone who knew the area. So I was able to say, is this Airbnb in a safe place, or any restaurant recommendations, early into the planning of this trip. But then, writing a book together, you do tend to get to know each other a little bit better.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And as we became better friends and got closer, it became more like, in the beginning it was, hey, maybe we could meet up for coffee at some point. And then it became, I can't wait to meet you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
that's exciting.
It was pretty cool the way that worked out. But so Birmingham is the second largest city in England.
Okay.
So it was a very large place, and I only saw a piece of it. I stayed in city center. So where I was next to a theater district, and there was an LGBTQ area that was right there, and then Chinatown. So I was kind of at
There's a Chinatown over
There's a Chinatown.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Okay. That's weird.
I stayed in an Airbnb that was in this apartment building, and the front door to the apartment building opened out into this like Chinatown area.
So that's probably pretty. Did you go check out Chinatown?
I walked through a couple of the areas.
Okay.
I mean, it seemed kind of small. It was probably bigger than what I saw.
Okay.
I was right next to a very large shopping area called the Bull Ring, and I would walk around over there. I walked a lot. I walked in increasingly large concentric circles, so I didn't get lost.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. So you mentioned too about picking an Airbnb in a safe place is like any big city. There are bad parts.
Oh,
okay, all right.
Yes.
Like I don't know. Like when you think of going over, you think it's like this amazing, like everybody's like so jovial and just so nice over there. I take it there are bad spots, like you said, like you stay out of this area. Really?
I would imagine. Now, I didn't see any of this, but there's.
But you were recommended.
Yes.
Okay. Right.
Yeah, there was definitely some. Oh, you don't want to stay in that area. That's not really
that is
a great
some useful
area.
information.
So absolutely, because I would have just been looking at what does it cost.
Yeah, exactly.
And the cheaper ones are obviously going to something's wrong there.
Yeah, that's always my question too. Whenever we travel somewhere, if we're getting an Airbnb or even a hotel for that matter, what's the area like? And if we happen to know anybody that lives in that general area, we're going to ask.
It's nice to have a resource like that.
Yes. Yeah. Because I'm just such a nervous Nelly about staying somewhere. I think my problem is I've seen too many scary movies.
Yep, that'll do it.
Yeah. And especially ones that revolve around Airbnb, stuff like that, you get murdered or some creepy thing in the basement. You never know. Like, it just freaks me out. But anyway.
I felt very safe there. So for as large as the city was, where I was very populated. There were a lot of restaurants and pubs right around there.
Was the food amazing?
There was a lot of, amazing.
Yeah, all right.
Amazing. British food gets a bad rap, and I'm here to tell you that I don't know why. It's not fair. It's delicious. Crumpets are incredible. It's a bunch of nonsense that we got English muffins and not crumpets.
What's the difference?
Crumpets are delightful.
Yeah.
So English muffins are like dry, kind of, you toast them. And
is this crumpet that you bought? Is it something you bought from the local grocery and took it back and made? Or did you? Oh, are you serious?
Yep.
I thought it was like fresh crumpets. I was going to say, that's not a good comparison.
And because of my dietary restrictions, it was also gluten-free.
Oh, yeah.
And gluten-free stuff is not delicious,
and this was?
speaking. And this was amazing. It was a gluten-free crumpet I bought at a grocery store that I made in the Airbnb oven.
Wow.
It was delicious.
Wow.
They're like soft inside, and they get crispy on the outside. You melt butter on them, and they're amazing.
Like,
they're amazing.
What's that cookie called?
So good, it almost made me a little mad.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, maybe, okay. We're used to the American English muffin that you buy off the Walmart shelf or whatever.
Yeah.
I think to make this comparison legit, you need to get, like, is there an English muffin over there?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Did you try
this
both?
Is different. I did not. I did not try an English muffin.
Okay, all right.
But a crumpet is a different thing,
right?
And it is far superior.
I don't know why I'm so defensive about English muffins.
I like English muffins. A crumpet. I guess the closest thing we have to compare it to would be an English muffin. But it's a different thing. It's very good.
Yeah, well, you got me wanting a crumpet. Yeah, what else did you try over there that was like amazing? What's the big difference as far as like just cultural differences maybe that you noticed?
So here, now this might be partly, the difference between rural and urban areas. But I've noticed generally in America, even in cities that I've been in, Americans smile a lot and want to tell me their whole life story.
Yeah.
Just you make fleeting eye contact and suddenly I know that their son's in jail and what happened to their dog last year. That's America.
Yeah.
Over there, none of that. No one did that to me, not once. Everybody was polite and nice and kind, but it was very transactional. Like it was whatever we needed to do and it was done and that was it. They had this kind of polite detachment, which really was kind of nice.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that I don't like small town friendly America because I do. I live here, but
they just don't find the need for small talk.
Right. Yes. Small talk in that way that, you go to the grocery store and then it's 10 more minutes at the grocery store because I can't get away from the cashier.
Yeah.
That didn't happen there.
Or you happen to get behind somebody in line that's like super chatty as you're waiting to get,
Yes. It just seems like that's just not part of the culture there. And people weren't rude, but it was just a really different way to interact.
It's just how they do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there's no no one feels awkward for not talking.
Yep,
but
exactly.
We do here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Everybody was polite and friendly enough, but not so overly friendly that you get stuck in a conversation.
That is the worst.
It is the worst.
I feel like I'm guilty of doing that sometimes though, because it's our culture and I just feel the need that I need to
I do it too.
break the awkward silence.
Yep, I do it too because it's what's expected here, I guess. But that was a big it felt different.
Yeah. You probably took a little getting used to.
It
like
did.
you were doing something wrong.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. Anything else?
So, well, you might want to cut this out. If I can talk about this? So I felt safe in public. There's no, can I talk about that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So, I noticed that I did not have that same feeling of when you're in a crowd here, how you just are aware of the exits and situational awareness of who has what and noticing that people are armed. That was not the case there. I didn't feel uncomfortable in a crowd at all. And there was a point that I was walking on a pretty busy street and a car made a noise and I jumped, but no one else did.
Oh, so just the way we live.
Yes. That fear of being shot in public was not something that I experienced there. And I noticed after a few days, that feeling had changed. Not even the police were armed.
What? No, that's weird.
Yeah. So the police there had brightly colored reflective vests on. And I
sticks?
thought, yeah.
Okay.
And I thought they were security guards because of the reflective vests. They were the police. So they are highly visible and they're just sort of around and they're intended to be visible because they're supposed to be there to help you. So like everywhere, I just noticed where the police cars have that same reflective, highly visible strip.
I wonder if there's like a different level of like how we have like our police officers and then we have like SWAT. Do they have like those guys who are just, there with a club in case something gets a little disorderly?
Yes.
And then they
there
have
is a different level because at one point, Scott and I were together and there were like vans, I guess, that went by that had sirens. And he said, those are the ones that are armed.
Yeah. Those are the ones.
They're on their way to respond to something.
Yeah.
Something happened.
Okay.
And those are the ones going to take care of it in a more aggressive way. But just the police that were just around, it was a different feel. It was interesting. It was an interesting cultural difference.
It is interesting because I don't think we could do that here.
Our culture.
I think our culture is too violent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would take. I can't even imagine how long it would take to shift our culture
hundreds of
away
years.
from that. Yeah.
Maybe
because it's been. Well, we haven't even been here for hundreds of years.
Yeah,
200 and some.
Yeah,
years.
I don't think maybe not quite that long, but maybe the course of 20 years.
Yeah.
To
at
maybe
least
see a
probably
shift.
generation.
Yeah. Yeah, 30 years maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a very interesting cultural difference.
Hundreds of years.
Centuries.
I think we can evolve a little quicker than that. But so they drive on the other side of the road.
Yes, that was weird. So I did not drive while I was over there. I feel like
not.
I would have wrecked
And the steering wheels are on the other side of the car.
Yes, yeah. So I rode in Ubers.
Oh my God, how weird was it sitting like having the driver on the other side?
Yes. And then sitting in the back of the Uber with the driver on the other side. And then I was aware of it and kind of paying attention to how weird it was. And then I'd start like just looking around, and then kind of forget and then catch a car out of the corner of my eye coming down the other way.
It like freaks you out for a second. Like,
oh, God, no, we're going to get in. Oh, they're supposed to be there. And some of the roads are very narrow. There were a couple times the Ubers turned onto roads that I thought, that's a sidewalk. That can't be a road.
Oh, like
that's
that?
A road, yeah.
Wow.
These narrow little, they look like alleys, but they're roads.
They just honking to people to move.
You
And
just drive down it.
people just move out of the way.
Yeah.
No one's banging on the hood like freaking out.
Nope. No.
Like they
no.
would around
I'm
here.
walking in.
Yeah.
None of that. Yeah, none of that.
Just all polite and kind. Sounds like a great place to live. Really.
It was a really comfortable culture. And like I said, when we were talking about traveling before, it was the first time I felt like maybe I could stay here. Normally I feel like I'm ready to go home.
Okay.
Like there's a lot of homesick.
Yeah.
And I was obviously very much missing my kid and my dog.
Right.
But I didn't, I don't know. I liked it there.
Yeah. Well, okay. As far as like the, cost of living, it's hard to gauge as far as like, you go anywhere and you go out to eat some places. It's hard to judge exactly how much it costs, but did you see like a significant change in what you would know, like what you would expect to pay for? Of course, it's a different currency too.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is a hard question to answer because I feel like every time I bought something, I was like, I literally have no idea how much I'm paying for this.
Okay.
Because it's in pounds. And then it asks me at the thing with my card, do you want to pay in pounds or dollars? But it doesn't give me a different amount. Like, I don't know. I guess that
what is the pound versus the dollar? Like, is it similar?
It's not the pound is more valuable. I think that's the way that works. So 1 pound would be like $1.3
Okay, here
or
it is.
something like that.
1 pounds to 1 pound sterling. Wait.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, all right. Equals 1.24.
Oh, I was close.
Yeah, you're pretty darn close.
I was close.
Okay, so it wasn't like wildly different.
Not, but different enough.
Different enough.
Different enough that it gave me the impression that things were cheaper there, but they weren't because they were listed in pounds.
Yeah.
And I was paying dollars, so it's hard to say. And then city versus smaller area, as far as the actual cost of living. And I also, didn't look at real estate. So
No, like not yet. Yeah. So I just wondered, like, if you went to, like, if you stopped in like a burger shop or something, and of course, you wouldn't be able to eat the bread.
yeah.
But
There were a lot of options for me over there, though.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, a lot more places. A lot of places that when you first went in, the first question they asked was, how many, and do you have any allergies we need to be aware of?
No kidding.
Yeah, which I thought,
That's amazing.
Why don't we do that here?
That's so kind.
It is.
Yeah.
And, it's your health, so.
Yeah. Yeah. That's incredible. I guess aside from the financing, because I think it's going to be too tricky to answer, how was it just being around all the accents? Because, like, I love the accent. And was it thicker, like where you're at? Was it hard to understand?
So Birmingham, the accent, so there are hundreds of British accents.
Yeah.
I think the one people are most used to is that kind of Hugh Grant
Yeah.
accent.
I can't do it justice.
I can't do it. I can't. This would be a good time for me to be able to do accents and give you examples. But
You were there for 9 days, living amongst them.
I know.
You didn't pick up anything?
I didn't. Birmingham's accent is a little bit thicker, a little harder to understand sometimes. So and then it's so multicultural that you're not only dealing with a Birmingham accent, but then also sometimes other nationalities. So it's somebody who's speaking English as a second language, and then that accent plus the Birmingham accent on top of it. I'm thinking I heard that sometimes. There were some times that I was just like, I guess. I don't know what you're saying.
I'm sure people knew right away when you spoke. You're like,
Oh, absolutely.
like, oh, you a tourist? Or, see, that sounds Australian. I can't do it. I'm not even gonna try. That was the last time.
No shrimp on the Barbie.
No.
I did one time. I was very proud of this. Have somebody ask me for directions.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Were you putting on a fake accent?
Nope. I was just walking, and I apparently looked like I knew where I was, even though I also really didn't know exactly where I was.
This was on day 8 or 9. You're getting familiar with the area.
I was familiar with the area, yeah. Enough that somebody stopped me and asked me how to get somewhere. And as soon as I started talking, I could see the realization on his face of like, oh, you have no idea either.
Yeah. When you start walking around the area, not looking up and around at things.
Yes.
And you're just looking dead ahead.
Yep. You don't look like a tourist anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a very touristy thing to do.
It is. Yeah. And I did not do a lot of touristy stuff in Birmingham. I tried to just get a feel for what it must be like to live there. But then I did do a lot of touristy stuff in London. I was in London for 2 days.
Oh, okay.
And walked everywhere and saw all the things. So like all those big London landmarks. So that was a different experience of the country. I saw Buckingham Palace, Big Ben, London Bridge, the Tower of London. Yeah, a lot of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure there was quite the variety of people there. Like, it's probably more touristy.
London felt very touristy.
Yeah.
And actually, on one of the days, there was a March for Palestine. Oh. So it was one of the top 10 largest demonstrations in London's history.
Really?
I was like, oh, cool. All these extra people.
Yeah.
Great. Just get out of my way.
Yeah.
I mean, good job protesting your thing, but get out of my way.
Like I should have looked at the schedule before I came up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one thing I do want to do, we're gonna move on, sort of. Sticking with the theme here, though, I have a few things to ask you here about your experience over there. So I talked about you kind of, absorbing the culture and, just kind of learning things. You didn't pick up the accent.
Nope.
But did you happen to pick up any of the terminology?
We're gonna find out. Right?
Yeah. So I have a list of things here. It's the American English versus British English, and a couple examples here. Like when we say apartment, they say flat. Okay, that's where we're going with this. Vacation for us, holiday for them. Yes. And one more example here. An elevator. These are ones people already know.
Yep.
Is a lift.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to see if you know. There's like probably 100 on here. I've selected maybe a dozen or so.
Okay.
I'm going to give you the American English word first, and then I'm going to see if you know the British American equivalent. Okay, you ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
All right, so the first word is antenna. That's what we call it.
Oh, believe it or not, that didn't come up on my trip.
No?
I have no idea.
It is aerial.
Really?
Yes, aerial. Do you know what a bill is? Like a bill in your hand. You're going to pay for something. That's what we call it.
Is it it wouldn't be a check.
A banknote.
A bank? Oh, you don't mean like okay, gotcha. I'm going to pretend like I didn't understand that. So
okay.
That doesn't count against me.
Okay, well, I'll delete that one. Just kidding. Cookie.
Biscuit.
Yes, that's correct. For the longest time, anytime I heard people say biscuit in a show, a British show, I literally thought they were talking about like what I was thinking of as a biscuit.
The Great British Bake Off, which is called the Great British Baking Show over there, confused me so much between cookie, biscuit, scone, jelly.
What's jelly?
Not what we would call.
Oh,
so
no?
It's like all these different. Wait, not jelly, pudding.
Oh, is that
see,
like?
Look how good I am at this. Pudding. Pudding was the one that confused me.
Oh, you're gonna do terrible.
Yeah, I'm gonna be awful. Were you even there?
Yeah.
I was in Franklin.
Yeah, I need pictures. Prove it. All right, let's see. The trunk of a car.
Boot.
Ah, yes. I think a lot of people do know that one. A pharmacy.
Chemist.
That's right. Yes, well done. French fries. People know this one.
Chips.
That's correct. I got bamboozled one time because I went to a local restaurant, and it said fish and chips.
Oh.
I was rather excited because I love French fries. Okay. Guess what I got? Actual potato chips.
No. I feel like everybody in America knows fish and chips is
I know.
fried fish and French fries.
I was very upset.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Yeah. I looked at my plate. I'm like,
potato chips with fish.
I'm like, why? I'm like, where are the fries? Kara's like, my wife, she's like, calm down. She's like, it says chips. I'm like, that's not what it means.
Lies, they're lies.
I'm like, I think they didn't know what it meant.
They probably did.
And they're like, oh, let's serve fish and chips.
Clearly
what kind
they
of
mean
chips?
Lay's.
Doritos? Yeah. Like, no. All right, so let's see. A thumbtack.
Oh.
This is a tough one.
That is a tough one. I don't know.
A drawing pin.
Oh, I would have never gotten that.
Pacifier.
I know this one.
It's a weird. It does not make sense.
Oh, but I know this one. I can't think of it.
Dummy.
A dummy. I knew that. I swear I did.
I was before I told you I was going to do this. I didn't show you any of these, but I was like, I want you to use some of these in a sentence in your best British accent. That ain't gonna happen. I thought about doing it too.
Not unless you do it.
Right.
In your best Australian accent.
My best Australian, yeah. Hey, mate. Let's see. A garbage collector, garbage man. Do you know what that would be called over there? I did not know this one.
Bin man?
That's a pretty good guess, but it's called a dust man.
A dust man.
A dust man, yeah.
That's
Overpass.
Nope, I don't know that one.
A
either.
flyover.
A flyover.
I love the differences.
Yeah.
Sometimes they make like more sense.
Yes.
Sometimes they make less sense.
Yes.
Sneakers. Like tennis.
Trainers.
Yes, very good, very good. We did vacate. What do they call a vacuum cleaner? I give you a hint. It's the brand of one.
Hoover.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, grab me the Hoover. Let's see. Diaper. Oh, a diaper.
I know this one too. Yeah. Oh no. Nope, I can't.
I'll try it. I'll try the English accent here.
Okay.
Oh my God, here we go. I'm gonna embarrass myself. Oh, you grab little Billy a nappy.
Nappy.
Yes,
I just thought of it. Yep.
I saw it when it clicked. The nappy. The liquor store. I did not know this one.
Liquor store.
You'll never guess if you don't know it.
No, I don't know.
Off license.
Oh.
Yeah.
Nope, I've never heard that.
Sidewalk. Come on, someone.
Pavement?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you hear that over there?
Yeah. Well, also, I mean, to be fair, I talk to Scott a lot, and he is British.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So some of these, it wasn't just from my trip. It was also like over time. When we wrote this book together, there were British English words I had to pull out and Americanize.
Okay.
So I learned some things.
So,
You wouldn't know based on my poor performance here, but
so if he was like, she went to the post box.
I would change it to mailbox.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
So my favorite example is he had written in, they were outside, the characters are outside, and he had said they put something on the floor. And I was like, I thought they were outside. But
he said floor.
But there, everything is the floor. Whether it's
not the ground versus the floor.
Versus the floor.
Okay.
Yeah. But for us, floor would be inside or like forest floor. But this was a parking lot, which would also not be called a parking lot. It would be called a car park.
A car park, yeah.
Yeah.
Which that's what they call the spot you park to.
The
car park.
Car park.
Yeah. And they call the parking lot the car park.
The car park. Might as well just get good use out of that term.
Yeah. Like, let's just sum up all of this.
The whole thing.
A couple more here. Everybody, I think, knows potato chips.
Yes, I'm sure. Crisps.
Yes,
yeah.
crisps.
Yeah.
I did not for a long time. Let's see. A pantyhose.
Nope, I don't know that one.
Tights.
Tights.
Those are just tights.
Okay, just tights.
Candy.
Sweets.
Yes. A couple. I'll do like a few more here. Let's see. A stroller.
Is it a pushchair?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I'd never guessed that. That's really good. Grab me the pushchair. Flashlight.
Torch.
Shorts. Underpants.
Underpants.
That would be confusing.
Yeah, and pants are a different thing.
Yeah, trousers, I think.
Trousers
maybe?
are pants. Pants are underwear.
Yeah. Windshield.
I should know this one. I don't know that I'm going to remember it, but
Windscreen.
Windscreen. I knew there was a different.
That's so weird.
Yeah, it's weird.
Those are fun. Like I said, there's probably 80 more on there.
Oh, so many.
There's so many different.
So many.
But yeah, so that was actually pretty fun. Yeah, so anything you want to end the show with? I think we're actually about at the hour mark, so we're going to wrap up here shortly. Nothing?
So much pressure.
Yeah.
No, I think we covered
That's it?
everything.
Okay.
That's it. That is it. Goodbye.
All right. Well, let's wrap this up. Thank you so much for coming out and
Thank you
still
for
doing this,
having
even
me.
though Joe couldn't make it. So, yeah. Thanks for tuning in, everybody, and we'll see you next Monday.